Buddhists and Taoists are all people who have left the family. For what reason are they working for our support? Why are they willing to submit to our roll call? The Taoist said, "You have no idea that in the year when we were all praying for rain, the monks bowed to Buddha on one side while the Taoists petitioned the pole star on the other, all for the sake of finding some food for the country. The monks, however, were useless, their empty chants of sutras wholly without efficacy. As soon as our masters arrived on the scene, they summoned the wind and the rain, and the bitter affliction was removed from the multitudes. It was then that the court became terribly vexed at the monks, saying that they were completely ineffective and that they deserved to have their monasteries wrecked and their Buddha images destroyed. Their travel rescripts were revoked and they were not permitted to return to their native regions. His Majesty gave them to us instead, and they were to serve as bondsmen. They are the ones who tend the fires in our abbey, who sweep the grounds, and who guard the gates. Since we have some buildings in the rear that are not completely finished, we have ordered these monks here to haul bricks, tiles, and timber for the construction. But for fear of their mischief, indolence, and unwillingness to pull the cart, we have come to investigate and make the roll call." When Pilgrim heard that, he tugged at the Taoists as tears rolled from his eyes. "I said that I might not have the good affinity to see your old masters," he said. "And true enough, I don't." "Why not?" asked the Taoist. "This humble Taoist is making a wide tour of the world," said Pilgrim. "Both for the sake of eking out a living and for finding a relative." "What sort of relative do you have?" asked the Taoist. Pilgrim said, "I have an uncle, who since his youth had left the family, and shorn his hair to become a monk. Because of famine some years ago, he had to go abroad to beg for alms and hadn't returned since. As I remembered our ancestral benevolence, I decided that I would make a special effort to find him along the way. It's very likely, I suppose, that he is detained here and cannot go home. I must find him somehow and get to see him before I can go inside the city with you." "That's easy," said the Taoist. "The two of us can sit here while you go down to the beach to make the roll call for us. There should be 500 of them on the roll. Take a look and see if your uncle is among them. If he is, we'll let him go for the sake of the fact that you, too, are a fellow Taoist. Then we'll go inside the city with you. How about that?" Pilgrim thanked them profusely, and with a deep bow he took leave of the Taoists. Striking up his wooden fish, he headed down to the beach, passing the double passes as he walked down the narrow path from the steep ridge. All those monks knelt down at once and kowtowed, saying in unison, "Father, we have not been indolent. Not even half a person from the 500 is missing, we are all here pulling the cart." Snickering to himself, Pilgrim thought, "These monks must have been awfully abused by the Taoist. They are terrified even when they see a fake Taoist like me. If a real Taoist goes near them, they will probably die of fear." Waving his hand, Pilgrim said, "Get up and don't be afraid. I'm not here to inspect your work, I'm here to find a relative." When those monks heard that he was looking for a relative, they surrounded him on all sides, every one of them sticking out his head and coughing, hoping that he would be claimed as kin. "Which of us is his relative?" they asked. After he had looked at them for a while, Pilgrim burst into laughter. "Father," said the monks, "you don't seem to have found your relative. Why are you laughing instead?" Pilgrim said, "You want to know why I'm laughing? I'm laughing at how immature you monks are. It was because of your having been born under an unlucky star that your parents, for fear of your bringing misfortune upon them, or for not bringing with you additional brothers and sisters, turned you out of the family and made you priests. How could you then not follow the 3 jewels and not revere the law of Buddha? Why aren't you reading the sutras and chanting the litanies? Why do you serve the Taoists and allow them to exploit you as bondsmen and slaves?" "Venerable Father," said the monks, "are you here to ridicule us? You must have come from abroad, and you have no idea of our plight." "Indeed, I'm from abroad," said Pilgrim, "and I truly have no idea of what sort of plight you have. As they began to weep, the monks said, "The ruler of our country is wicked and partial. All he cares for are those persons like you, venerable father, and those whom he hates are us Buddhists." "Why is that?" asked Pilgrim. "Because the need for wind and rain," said one of the monks, "caused 3 immortal elders to come here. They deceived our ruler and persuaded him to tear down our monasteries and revoke our travel rescripts, forbidding us to return to our native regions. He would not, moreover, permit us to serve even in any secular capacity, except as slaves in the household of those immortal elders. Our agony is unbearable. If any Taoist mendicant shows up in this region, they would immediately request the king to grant him an audience and a handsome reward. But if a monk appears, regardless of whether he is from nearby or afar, he will be seized and sent to be a servant in the house of the immortals." Pilgrim said, "Could it be that those Taoists are truly in possession of some mighty magic, potent enough to seduce the king? If it's only a matter of summoning the wind and the rain, then it is merely a trivial trick of heterodoxy. How could it sway a ruler's heart?" The monks said, "They know how to manipulate cinnabar and refine lead, to sit in meditation in order to nourish their spirits. They point to water and it changes into oil. They touch stones and transform them into pieces of gold. Now they are in the process of building a huge abbey for the 3 pure ones, in which they can perform rites to heaven and earth and read scriptures night and day, to the end that the king will remain youthful for 10,000 years. Such enterprise undoubtedly pleases the king. So that's how it is," said Pilgrim. "Why don't you all run away and be done with it?" "Father, we can't," said the monks. "Those immortal elders have obtained permission from the king to have our portraits painted and hung up in all 4 quarters of the kingdom. Although the territory of this Kartslo kingdom is quite large, there is a picture of monks displayed in the marketplace of every village, town, county, and province. It bears on top the royal inscription that any official who catches a monk will be elevated 3 grades, and any private citizen who does so will receive a reward of 50 taels of white silver. That's why we can never escape. Let's not say monks, but even those who have cut their hair short or are getting bald will find it difficult to get past the officials. They are everywhere, the detectives and the runners. No matter what you do, you simply can't flee. We have no alternative but to remain here and suffer." "In that case," said Pilgrim, "you might as well give up and die." "Venerable father," said the monks, "many of us have died. There were altogether some 2,000 monks caught and brought here. Some 600 or 700 of them have perished because they could not bear the suffering and the persecution, or because they could not endure the cold or adjust to the climate. Another 700 or 800 committed suicide. Only we 500 failed to die." "What do you mean by that?" asked Pilgrim. The monks said, "When we tried to hang ourselves, the ropes snapped. When we tried to cut ourselves, the blades were blunt. When we hurled ourselves into the river, we floated back up instead. And when we took poison, nothing happened to us." Pilgrim said, "You are very lucky. Heaven must be desirous of prolonging your lives." "The last word is not quite right, venerable father," said the monks. "For surely you mean prolonging our torments. Our daily meals are thin gruel made of the coarsest grains, and at night we have nowhere to rest but this exposed piece of sandy beach. When we close our eyes, however, there will be deities here to protect us." "You mean the hard work during the day," said Pilgrim, "causes you to see ghosts at night." "Not ghosts," said the monks, "but the 6 gods of darkness and the 6 gods of light, together with the guardians of monasteries. When night falls, they will appear to protect us and, in fact, prevent those who want to die from dying." Pilgrim said, "These gods are rather unreasonable. They should rather let you die early so that you could reach heaven at once. Why are they guarding you like that?" The monks said, "They try to comfort us in our dreams, telling us not to seek death, but to endure our suffering for a while until the arrival of the holy monk from the Great Tang in the land of the East, the Arhat who is journeying to the western heaven to acquire scriptures. Under him, we are told, there is a disciple who is the great sage, equal to heaven, and who has vast magic powers. He is, moreover, a person of rectitude and kindness, one who will avenge the injustices of the world, assist those who are needy and oppressed, and comfort the orphans and the widows. We are told to wait for his arrival, for he will reveal his power and destroy the Taoists, so that the teaching of Chan and complete poverty will be honored once more. When Pilgrim heard these words, he said silently to himself, smiling, "Don't say old monkey has no competence. For gods proclaim early his eminence." Turning quickly and striking up again the wooden fish, he left the monks to return to the city gate to meet the Taoists. "Sir," said the Taoists as they greeted him, "which of them is your relative?" "All 500 of them are relatives of mine," said Pilgrim. Laughing, the two Taoists said, "How could you have that many relatives?"